Good morning, it's Harvey Jackson. Just going to go through some planting survey results and the shipping stories and freight stories as well. So let's just get into it. Karen Braun has mentioned, they're just talking about the survey and even how the wider ranges maybe even expected as well. You're seeing, this is just average, but then there's like three that's way out of the average. 3 of the 22 are above this 95 million. And the other, maybe the thing to be watching out for is what is the soy going to do? I don't think there's a big pile of differences expected in the wheat, but if there's a little bit lower soy expectations, you could actually see that market actually run from where it is possibly. So let's just get into some of the shipping stories. And so there's a Black Sea deal to try to broker the end of the war, but Russia's been leaning into the U.S. and whoever will listen. Obviously, Trump is listening, but it's to try to free up means to be able to get money and the sanctions on some of the banks and banking systems. This article is just talking about the what they're asking for, and it's Moscow has restrictions on payments, logistics, and insurance have amounted a barrier in the shipping. Right, but it's all about trying to get back into the SWIFT system, which is the banking system that allows money transfer from bank to bank. Another story here that's been, I think there's been a lot of lobbying in the U.S. As well, talking about the port fees for Chinese-made vessels, and you can see here both of these charts just basically are saying that who's making these vessels? It's definitely not U.S. Trump must have a partner in there that wants to increase his shipyard manufacturing, and this would definitely put that lean in there, and just overall concentration of Chinese and other ships. It's definitely got a huge lean to Asia for sure. I think of a lot of those ships that are manufactured, I think Japan is actually making quite a few container ships as well, or bulk carriers. Russia IKAR raises wheat harvest forecast. They've got some better weather, and we'll have a look at that in a little bit here as well. But when you look at producers, here's your biggest producer. This is not an exporter or a net exporter. India is not a net exporter, neither is China. Europe does, but they consume a lot of it. So when you look at the export itself, Russia is number 1, European number 2, Australia and Canada are basically tied in as being a net exporter. So we flip from production to export. It depends on whether you need to consume it yourself. I'm going to start paying attention to some of these soil moisture maps. You can see that there is very low soil moistures in pockets with the pink. Just a FYI. And if you look at where wheat is grown, it's definitely on the prairies, right? So, and I'll be showing more maps. Here's European. So you can see where the wheat is concentrated and where's the drought. Well, there's some over here as well, but it's not it's not primary. But you can see Ukraine's got a fair bit of drought, and you can see that here, like most of Ukraine. But then you've got basically war going on in this area here. So there's probably very little wheat getting grown in that area. And then when you look at Russia, it's basically between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. So when you look at the soil moisture map, there's that drought is still there, but it's lightening up a little wee bit as well. Australia, you can see that it's basically the southern coastline areas, and sure enough, there's some, but it's not near as bad as it might have been in the past. So let's just have a look at the prices here. Canola is up another $5. Rapeseed's up 4. Palm oil is up slightly. Soybean oil is up as well. Crude oil up another 6.66 of a barrel. So we're getting very close to that $70 a barrel. And soybeans are up, and wheat is basically on both sides of unchanged, really. So it's maybe the bloodbath is over on that. It's hard to say. And the Canadian dollar is just slightly down. So let's just have a look at it. Canola, if we were to enter in, this would be kind of the take profit area and what to defend against for the downside protection. Yeah, you can. One thing I want to point out is the canola market hasn't really recovered off the bottom very much, and that gap that needs to get filled it's quite a ways from where we are right now. New crop still trading closer to the bottom. When you look at European rapeseed, we're $201. A differential between Canadian canola and Europe price in Canadian dollars. Pretty lofty. We've been there before, but not very often. What I want to point out is the gap that got made on European rapeseed following canola, where it's well past it and lots of green candles. It's probably got to take a bit of a pause here, but hey, don't get in the way of an uptrend. Rapeseed is recovered a fair bit from its lowest prices that it's seen. This is soybean oil, and it's actually on a bit of a recovery, but it's still close to the bottom. It looks like if you overlay the canola chart on top of this one, you would say there isn't a whole lot of difference, other than there's a gap and that one doesn't have it. Palm oil closer to the top end of the chart. Soybeans still on this downward trend. There could be some surprises with the prospective planting report that could actually give this a little bit of upside if there's smaller acres or smaller expected acres than expected as well. Soy meal, we're at the bottom end of this channel. Pretty cheap meal. So if people were thinking that China needs the meal from the canola, they can just buy soy meal and add fiber. Sure, it's not exactly the same, but they're a country that will change policies of dietary restrictions or plans for their livestock. And trust me, they've used probably a lot of inadequate nutrition needs in the past, and they'll go back to using soy meal, which is probably still superior over the canola meal by itself. Anyway, looking at the Canadian dollar, it's at the top end of this little bit of channel I put in there. When you dive into it, it's still a little ways to go, but when you look at this, it's maybe going to get back there. I'm not too optimistic. I'm not trading this one as we speak here. Here's your Minneapolis wheat. It's trading pretty low here, chasing the 10-day moving average down. And here's your new crop, still looking at targeting these values up on top there at $7 kind of thing. Your hard red winter May contract, pretty long leg down here, but when you look at where we want to enter, it's right where we are pretty well to take profit with long futures here. Corn, this is probably the downward trend, or getting into basically trading sideways to lower here at the moment. But I don't have an expectation that it's going to be trading much higher, especially if acres come in a little bit higher as well. And that's all I have for you today.